with the big leagues and moving on to the Yankees, I mean, people know some of the guys on the Yankees: Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, LeMahieu. Like, there's a lot of big name guys. What do you think? Like, spending time with those guys in a locker room, what separates those types of players from other guys in the bigs, from guys in the minor leagues? Is it talent? Is there something else that's there that's pushing them so far ahead of everybody?
They are definitely more talented. They're both freaks in their in their own way. Both can do like pretty crazy things on the baseball field, but what I took away most from just being in the locker room with them is just the way they walk around. Like they have so much. It's funny, like you can joke about it, but they have a ton of aura. Like you can feel their presence in the clubhouse.
Okay.
Um, like you just know when they walk in. When they walk in, everyone looks at them, type of
Okay.
thing. And yeah, it's because they are really good at baseball, but I mean they know they're good, and they never play with any doubt. You know, maybe they do, but they don't show it. Um, but I think just there is a difference between guys in the minors and guys in the big leagues, and it is that mental side of the game. There's a lot of I play with a lot of really talented players in the minor leagues that were always higher ranked prospects than me, probably a lot more talented than me.
Right.
More tools than I had, but I think it's once I kind of figured out that mental side of the game and understood like how I need to deal with failure and how I need to feel on the baseball field, how I need to feel when I'm hitting, all that sort of stuff. It's that mental side of the game, and that's what kind of separates the big leaguers to the minor leaguers. And there's obviously some talent involved too, some skill, but I think more than anything, it's like I've seen a ton of really talented guys in the minor leagues not make it, and it's not because they weren't good enough. It's just they couldn't pan out from a mental side of the game, I think.
From a work ethic standpoint, like, I remember this one kid. He's playing baseball at Notre Dame right now. He got drafted out of high school. It wasn't high enough though, so he didn't take it. But I think he's a starting catcher at Notre Dame. He'd always talk about, like, at some point, and I think he got this from like Jared Kelnick. I played baseball with Jared Kelnick's brother. I think he was drafted sixth overall. It's like at some point, less is more in the game of baseball. Like, is it really worth coming in and taking 500 swings each day? Maybe that gets in your head, bad mechanics. Maybe it's come and just get quality swings for a limited number of time. But from a work ethic perspective, from a guy like a Juan Soto or an Aaron Judge, are they gym rats? Like, are they always in the cage working, or are they more strategic with the stuff that they do?
I think it completely depends on what's going on with the player, how he's playing, what you really need to do. If you're rolling, less is more. It's during the season, especially, it really is get what you need, um, and work smarter, not harder. I've learned that the hard way. I've always been I'm gonna work harder, not smarter. I don't care. Like I don't can't afford not to work my butt off and work harder than these dudes because they're ahead of me and I gotta make up ground. That's always kind of been my attitude coming out of WashU. So, um, but in season, I've learned to kind of take that smarter, not harder approach. Um, I will say I know when Judge was kind of again had a crazy season last year. I know when was going through it that first month. I don't know if people were paying attention, but he was really struggling, like sub 200 batting average the first month because he didn't have spring training. He was hurt, so um, was kind of going through it. Taking his spring training lumps in April when it should have been in May or sorry March during spring training. Um, I know for like I know that he was staying up till midnight after games sometime trying to figure it out. So
Really?
there's times where guys are having to, you know, take take 200 swings to try to feel something. You know, if
Yeah.
you're going through it and you've had that feeling before, I mean, I love hitting so much. I've become more obsessed with it every single year because I learn more and more about my swing and I learn more about other people's swings and um I mean it's every single year like you know where your swing has to be and you know exactly if it's a little off, you know why. You know you're not feeling quite right. But if you lose it, it is hard to get back sometimes, especially in the cage is one thing, but then you have to transfer it to live pitching, which is a whole nother thing. So it's yeah, I mean it's again it's that grind. It's more mental than anything because physically you can do it, but mentally, do you remember the cue or the feel that you need to get back to really being in control in the batter's box in the game, which is where it matters. But yeah, to answer your original question, I think I do the I've always done the work harder, not smarter in the off season. I definitely knowing how my body feels throughout the year. I think I think the best way I can explain it is I'm working really hard at recovery. I'm working hard in the weight room, but I'm also getting after it in recovery. Like I'm getting more massages during the week. I'm stretching more. Like it's not necessarily hard to do, but it is discipline. Sometimes you just want to lay on the couch, but you got to get an extra hour of stretching in before you go to bed because that's going to make you feel better the next for the game the next day.
That's a great point.
So it's kind of reframing what working hard is.
From your perspective, like not being in the pros yet, and I know you've had 4 or so years through the minor leagues. Okay, so when spring training comes around each year, if I'm not mistaken, it's a unique opportunity to really be in a locker room with some big names and be surrounded by them, maybe hit with them too. So, as you, a guy who's trying to work your way up, are you always in some of these big time guys' back pocket asking, can I hop in with you? Can we swing here? Are you asking them questions or do you kind of distance yourself and observe from afar?
It, so when I was a non-roster invite with the Yankees, it
Yeah.
was really trying to, there'd be groups. The big guys are all in one group, and kind of the non-roster guys were in one group. So, um, I'm playing in the same games as them though. So when I am around them, in passing or in the locker room, it's more of I'm watching their every move basically. I'm trying to pick up on things. If I have a chance to talk to them, I'm trying to talk to them. In big league camp, there's up to 70 guys in big league camp. Sometimes there's the 40 man, and then there's non-roster invites. This year, so far, I've been in Arizona for about 2 weeks, and there's been guys that have good amount of big league time that I've been able to work with every day and talk to and kind of chop it up and talk hitting, fielding, and whatnot. So you obviously love those opportunities and learn as much as you can. So I think it's probably depends on the team too, the way they structure spring training. I know this year being on the 40 man, I'll be with a lot of those guys that are going to be in the bigs, already have a spot on the team. So hopefully more personal interaction, this time around.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Somewhere on the screen should direct you to somewhere else in our channel. But as always, believe foolishly.